Halloween is upon us soon enough. All right, soon enough. October's already started. And to be fair, some of y'all might have been thinking, wait, why aren't you dropping the Halloween content earlier? All right, we got preoccupied. There was new stuff dropping. I had to watch it. I just finished Creepshow Season 4, and I'm going to be dropping my thoughts on that soon enough. I did make 2 community posts about it, though, so you can go check those out quick. And I did watch the new Goosebumps show, and more content's been dropping, but I wanted to focus now strictly on the festivities of Halloween and start dropping content strictly related to that. So this is now officially beginning BD Horrors October festivities for leading up to Halloween. So let's get started, y'all. And we start off with a relatively unknown kids horror book. And you won't know it unless you're in tune with Goosebumps and Goosebumps knockoffs, because this comes from a Goosebumps knockoff series. And it's actually probably one of the most successful Goosebumps knockoff series ever. And I have a few of the books here from that series because obviously I've been buying and collecting. So yeah, we're talking about Spinetinglers. That's right, we got Killer Computer, we got Snow Day, we got Step on a Crack. Spinetinglers is the most, arguably, successful Goosebumps knockoff series out there. Never had a TV show. I'm sad about that. I'm sad that Spinetinglers never ended up getting a TV show. If there was one, I would support it. I would watch it. But it has not come out. So, Spinetinglers is basically a series that's made under one penmanship author, which is MT Coffin. MT Coffin is just a pen name, stands for multiple authors that write different stories. And the book that I'm talking about today actually comes from an author who's I think has written like 6 or 7 of the books out of the 30, so a pretty prominent author. And I've read a few of her books before, specifically one that I can remember. And I was not a fan of that one. I can't remember if I made a review, but I think I did. And that is Kathleen, I think Dooley or Dewey. And she wrote The Substitute Creature as one of her 6 or 7 books. And I did not like Substitute Creature. Substitute Creature has to be one of the most boring kids' horror books that I read. It was straight boring, man. Like there was... Like, you got a little bit creeped out in the beginning, but then it just keeps dragging and dragging and dragging, and not much is happening. And then the ending is a real cop-out, kind of just really weak, no twist, no nothing, just happy-go-lucky kind of ending that I was just like, ugh. And then I read this book. And this book, while it does have that kind of happy-go-lucky nature to it, and it does feel like something that is related to, other kids' TV shows that I'll be talking about, I have to say this one was decent. This one was good, and I would recommend that you guys check it out because the book that I'm talking about from Spinetinglers, I think is one of the few, if not the only, Halloween books to come from there. And even though it's not really that memorable or strong, it's still a decent to good read, pretty good read. So I would recommend that you guys check it out. And it does, in fact, embody the Halloween spirit, and that is none other than Wear and Scare from the Spinetinglers series. Wear and Scare, what are my thoughts? Well, this one to me feels more like a Disney Halloween special put into a Goosebumps knockoff book. That's what it feels like. If you had a Disney special put into book form, some Disney original that was never made, this would probably be it because it has a lot of that kind of feeling to it where there are some creepy moments in the book. There are some, moments of tension, potentially you thinking and expecting that something's going to happen. But really throughout the book, not much happens. There's a lot of, I would say, good character interaction scenes, pretty good character interactions between, the main characters, some of the adults in the story, the main villain, basically, in the story. And, you have a little bit of good writing in terms of how everything is set up, but not really much happens really until the very end of the book, which kind of felt thrown in there in terms of randomness for the climax. But not really much happens. Even with the main kind of premise for the story, that's not as investigated, as thoroughly as something like, let's say, The Haunted Mask 2, stuff like that. Werewolf Skin. It's not as thoroughly investigated as those ones. But it's all right. I think it's a decent read. I think it's a pretty good read. You would still, I guess, find some enjoyment in it. Is it strong by any means? No. But is it bad by any means? No. It's just kind of in the middle. And it does embody the Halloween spirit, so it might be a little fun read for you to check out. So without further ado, let's talk about Spinetinglers, Wear and Scare. Although really, it's not really much scaring going on. It's not that really scary of a book. So just wear and plan events. All right, let's go. So this review, what is this book about? So you have Sam and his group of friends, and I read this book a long time ago, so if I missed some details or if I say some things wrong, just forgive me. But I'm just going to be trying to remember some stuff. So Sam and his friends have this kind of council thing at school where they set up these events and clubs and different stuff going on. And they're very excited for this upcoming Halloween because they basically set a challenge for themselves that they want to make this the scariest Halloween possible. They're good at planning events. They're good at getting the town together. And they feel like they have the potential to make this probably the scariest Halloween and probably the most kind of like best experience for the town and the, students of the school who are always kind of relying on them to set up these kind of, big festivities and events on the holidays. So they're kind of debating on what they could do. They're thinking about some of the stuff they did in the past years, and they're trying to figure out, ways to surpass it, and they eventually get an idea. And this idea is that for them to get some of the scariest costumes possible, having scariest costumes on Halloween is kind of like the main thing. You kind of want to flex, you kind of want to show off, you kind of want to be the most standout costume on the block. So having the scariest costumes out there would probably give them a lot of reputation and cool points at school, right? You're dealing with middle schoolers. That stuff matters in middle school. And then they're also thinking about making a haunted house. And initially, I believe in the story they did some haunted houses in like parking lots kind of areas and abandoned houses, but they're thinking about a place where they could actually do like one of the scariest, most biggest attractions for the town and school kids to come check out during Halloween. And they eventually get the idea that the main character, Sam, can contact his aunt because his aunt is a huge horror fan, and I believe she's an actress. She does like acting in different gigs and stuff, and therefore she kind of knows about like makeup and film production and stuff like that, and she's a huge horror fanatic. So he thinks about asking his mom and seeing that maybe his aunt would be able to let them borrow her house and kind of turn it into this big haunted house that everybody could visit, and with their help they could set up really creepy decorations, they could make everything look really cool, and they would eventually they'd be able to pull off one of the best things for Halloween to happen in this town in their school, and they would get a lot of good reputation from it. So they decided to do that and try to talk to her. But before they do that, they're like, all right, you know what? Talking to her, it may not work out well. She might not want us to, there's going to be probably like 100 kids who come in tonight, some parents too, for Halloween night. She may not want all those people just running through her house, as most people would. So they decide, let's just focus on the costumes first. And eventually, Sam finds this kind of really small, kind of like boutique costume place that he goes to, kind of a little bit in a similar vein to the Haunted Mask shopkeeper store from the Haunted Mask story in Goosebumps. Kind of this small place that nobody really knows about. He finds it, he heads in there. And he sees a lot of a lot of good costumes, right? There's got a wide variety. He's checking it out. He likes what, everything's there. But he's kind of looking for that special one. And even though these are good costumes, he can't find that special, kind of costume that'll make him stand out. If this feels a lot like Haunted Mask, yeah, this feels a lot like Haunted Mask. I don't know which one came out first, so I don't know who inspired who, but there's some similarities between the two. If anybody knows, maybe I have to go back and look up. If anybody knows which one came out first, you can kind of decide who inspired who here. And he goes inside and he meets a guy who runs the shop. And the guy's name is Mr. Slytherin. Now, Mr. Slytherin, the way I envision this guy, or at least maybe how you can envision him as well. For any of you who've watched Are You Afraid of the Dark, there's only, I think, one reoccurring character that appears in the stories, aside from obviously the Midnight Society, who are separate from the stories and episodes that are told. The one character that's always reoccurring in a lot of these ones is Mr. Vink. Now, Mr. Vink is that kind of image that suits, Mr. Slytherin. And Mr. Slytherin, I don't believe has any ties to Hogwarts, but for all I know, he might be, performing magic spells on these things. We don't know. We don't got confirmation on what he's up to and what his origins are. I don't know if this man was battling Voldemort back in the day or he was dueling with Dumbledore. I don't know. don't know, but we got to keep that in mind, y'all. So this guy is very much like Dr. Vink. He's kind of this really old, kind of weak looking, but like kind of like crazy, shopkeeper owner guy. He kind of runs his place, and he's very much like an eccentric guy, very much kind of like a, very, very out there character. You know the type. If you've seen Dr. Vink, you know the kind of old, crazy, loony type of guy that runs a place. In this case, he's running the costume shop. And because Sam is looking for, these great costumes, Mr. Slytherin says, I do have some costumes in the back that are not for sale, these special ones, and if you want to check them out, you can, but I have to warn you that, there may, you don't know, there might be some negative, kind of hints, there might be some negative consequences that come with this. So Sam goes back there and he finds this skeleton costume, it's a costume that looks like a skeleton, and when he puts it on, with his mom had, head there with him, and he puts it on, it looks so real. It looks genuinely real. Like, it looks like, an actual skeleton. Like, he's turning into an actual skeleton. And he feels like he can, as he moves his limbs, he can hear, like, bones cracking, crunching, and snapping, into place. And he's kind of freaking out. He's like, wait, this is supposed to be a costume. Why does it sound like this? Why does it feel so realistic? And he kind of has snaps as he moves around. So he's kind of turning into something that he's not, or maybe he's hallucinating it. Maybe it's true. You don't really know. And his mom gets freaked out by Dr. Slytherin, or Mr. Slytherin. I'm getting mixed up with Dr. Vink. She kind of gets freaked out by Mr. Slytherin. So does Sam. And, he really loves a skeleton costume, but they head out of there. And he keeps that place in mind. He says he's going to go head back there with his friends. Maybe the aunt will take him after they convince her, to use the haunted house. That's definitely the place that he wants to get costumes from. So they finally go to their aunt, all the friends, and they convince her that, we can use this for a haunted house. And they start preparing it for a haunted house, as well as going back to get the costumes from this, kind of eccentric, hidden costume place. And then this is all going to tie together for this big Halloween night event that they're going to be performing for the town. And let's just say that there may be more than meets the eye to Mr. Slytherin, to what these costumes are, if they may or may not hold abilities in them, and you kind of figure out a little bit of what's going on. You can probably figure out what's going on just by what I described to you, but especially if you've read Haunted Mask and you read this story carefully, you can kind of figure out what direction the story's going. And that's as far as I'm willing to go regarding the story. So yeah, this one felt a lot like a Disney special that you would watch on Halloween. For any of you who've seen Halloween Town, stuff like Twitches, it feels like that, where it has horror in it, it has scary, creepy elements, but it never goes to the actual, level that like Goosebumps and other Spinetinglers books, get to, or maybe Are You Afraid of the Dark? It doesn't fully go down that horror route, right? It just kind of has creepy moments in it, the same way if you watched a Halloween special from Disney, like Halloween Town and Twitches, it has creepy moments in it, but it never fully goes through with actually trying to scare you. It just kind of throws them in there to make it a little bit creepy, so that way you recognize it as a Halloween story, but it's never going to actually try to go overboard and scare you, much like how Goosebumps and other kids' anthology stories would try to do. So, to an extent, that kind of weakens the book, because it never fully takes you to this place where you're actually scared or creeped out. Now, maybe if you're like a really younger kid, like a younger kid, 7 and younger, you might read this book and maybe, you might find it scarier, you might find it more appealing. As an adult, because it lacks any real scary stuff, I couldn't get too invested into it, so I was just kind of hoping for something to happen and kind of basing it off the writing. The character interaction scenes are good. They're nothing mind-blowing, but they are good, so it keeps you engaged throughout the story. And when you get to the climax of the Halloween night, the way it's set up is really cool. So that's the good thing about the story. The setup to this story is actually pretty strong. It's very much engaging you. There are pieces of writing in here that do actually kind of intrigue you about it. Like when they're talking with the aunt to kind of discuss if they can set up this haunted house and what they should do. There's scenes where they feel like they think they see somebody in the backyard running around, and Sam's kind of getting freaked out. Like, he's looking by the window and he's like, was that a silhouette? Was someone running around in the dark? Am I going crazy? And then he thinks that might have been potentially somebody that he knows and somebody that he met, and that kind of creeps him out even more. And then you get to the actual, Halloween haunted house night. And the whole setting is creepy because they've set up all this fake blood, fake eyeballs, these attractions. They have the friends hiding in the closets waiting to scare people and take them on different tours of the mansion. It's really cool, really interesting, and I like the setting a lot, and I like the setup to it. But it just doesn't pay off as much as I would have wanted it to. It doesn't go down this more creepy route that you might expect from something like Haunted Mask or Werewolf Skin or similar stories like that. Instead, it kind of just goes down like, again, a Disney route where, you get to the event, it pretty much goes how you would expect as if it was like a real life event, you would expect it to go this way. And then you get some hints as to some potentially, supernatural powers are being involved, but it never fully goes there. And then pretty much that part of the story wraps up and you get to the climax, and the climax is this seems like this random absurd event going on in the background, which like you basically have Armageddon going on in the backyard of this mansion, and it eventually gets solved, and then you just end with a kind of happy-go-lucky ending. So even though this one is better than Substitute Creature, and it does not feel like it's dragging at any point, it does kind of go down that corny, happy-go-lucky route, which is okay, but there's a balance. You can do balances with that. You can have happy endings of stories. You can have good, emotional moments, but you got to have a little bit of scare and a little bit of horror in there, especially when the book is promoted as kids' horror. And on top of that, the cover is this very kind of creepy, ominous cover with this jack-o'-lantern monster kind of reaching out at you. And that doesn't embody the book, because the book is nowhere near as kind of creepy and scary as the cover is promoting it to, on top of it being clickbait. No offense, that jack-o'-lantern thing does not appear in the story. So that's kind of a little bit of a letdown. Because you might pick up this book, and again, they say don't judge a book by its cover, but people are going to pick up this book because they like the cover as kids, and it doesn't really hit as much as it should. So yeah, that's pretty much all I can really give without spoiling the story too much. It's pretty much a predictable story, except for the climax, which kind of feels random at a certain point. But I feel like it's decent enough and embodies the Halloween spirit enough that you might be able to read through it. Just treat it like you're watching a Disney special, except in book form. You're reading basically a Disney special that you would see on Halloween. And I think you might be pretty much okay with this book. You'll find it fun enough. You'll find it enjoyable enough. And you'll at least feel good after you finish it. This won't be a dark, disturbing thing that freaks you out. It'll be a good feeling book after you're done reading it. So yeah, if you want a little bit of a feel-good book, you want something that kind of has all the things about Halloween that you love, I would suggest you go check out Wear and Scare. What is my score for Wear and Scare? Y'all, Wear and Scare gets a 7 out of 10. It's a 7 out of 10. It's a very average story. Honestly, it could have gone lower than a 7 out of 10, but it has a few moments in there that I did enjoy. Again, like I said, the backyard scene where they feel like somebody's watching them and moving around. It's very creepily told. I like the good character interaction scenes. I like the setting to the story with the big haunted house that their aunt helped them create on Halloween night. And I do like the feel, the emotional kind of good festivity feel to the book, which is why I give it a 7 out of 10. Otherwise, in terms of substance, I would have rated it lower, but since I'm feeling generous, and I did kind of like the atmosphere to it, 7 out of 10. It's a decent book. It's fine. Go check it out. It might be a good read. Is there better out there for Halloween reads? Yes. And hopefully, while I'm reading a few more Halloween books to review right now, hopefully some of them are better because it'll make for more interesting conversations. But yeah, this is a good starter point. If you want to start off your Halloween, check out Wear and Scare, and then work your way up from there. That rhymed. Bars. Yes, sir. All right, that's it for this review. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hit that subscribe button and hit that like button down below. It's free. We all like free things. It's free to hit that, so make sure to hit that. Comment down below if you've read Wear and Scare. What are your opinions and thoughts? Did you like the book? Did you not like the book? And also let me know, what are some of your most favorite Halloween books or stories that you like to read or watch? And I might add those to my list if I have time and check them out and maybe review them. So feel free to comment down below, hit subscribe, hit like, and then check out my other videos because I have plenty of other content to check out which is related to this and even some other Spinetinglers stories. And yeah, that's all I have for today. Hope you enjoyed, and see you to the next Halloween review. Deuces. Wear and Scare, bro. You know what I'm saying? Probably the scariest costume you could get on Halloween for me is pretty much you show up to my house and you're dressed up as my ex Felicia, you're dressed up as Alyssa, my current girlfriend, who's a magic performer. The reason why is because she kind of, we kind of been in an argument, I kind of cheated on her, you know what I'm saying? And I tried to play it off by saying, the girl, like the beds are all messed up because I made the girl disappear. I thought it would have been funny. I thought it would have been funny if I told her that, I made the girl disappear. Turns out she found her in the closet. I told her to hide there. It didn't go over too well. So that's probably going to be the scariest thing to pop up on my Halloween door. Or even worse than that, the bill collector. And if the bill collector pulls up on my house, we might have to, bring out the ghouls and goblins, aka all my homies to jump them. So yeah, that's all I have for today. Don't show up to my house if you're wearing a tuxedo and asking about the water bill. Just take a Hershey's and leave. You know what I'm saying?